Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Project 365. This is our platform where we're able to share hope, encouragement, and inspiration. I am Portia Wheatley. I am the founder and the president of a nonprofit organization acknowledged as Trophy of Life Incorporated, where we have the great pleasure to render hope, encouragement, and inspiration. We like to say that we are the action of hope, encouragement, and inspiration because it can be there, but if we don't do anything about it, it's just sitting there. But we have that great pleasure, and I'm so grateful that God has allowed us, and He's been faithful to us where we're able to do just what we said we were going to do. Well, let's bring in my co-host on today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Takira Swan, and I am so happy to be here on this beautiful Friday. It's Friday, right?
Right.
Yeah. I had to make sure. I think so. Yeah, it's Friday, and I'm so happy to be here. We have an amazing guest today. And before we get started, I want to remind everyone to please go to our YouTube channel, like, share, and subscribe. We have some great content to share all across the world, but we cannot make it happen without you. So make sure you subscribe and come a part of our team.
Thank you so very much. That's so true. You are now a part of our team. Well, today we want to take this opportunity to spotlight and honor parents who have given birth to and have to take care of children with physical challenges. And today our challenge is, well, it's not physical. Let's say health challenge. Let's say that health challenge. And today our guest is Annetta Childs. I like to call Annetta. So if you hear me call Annetta, I'm leaving the air. Annetta. It's going to be Netta for me today. But she is a great, great mother to some young lady, Kirsten, who has an immune deficiency. And we're going to hear about that. Now, it's hard enough just to be healthy in a pandemic. But to know that someone has a challenge such as that, you have to be double careful. So we want to know how she is able to do all that she does. And I know the great mother that she is. You wait till you hear this. And it's amazing how she finds time to do all that she does and still be the great mother that she is, and to find time for herself. This girl has energy, so I don't know what she's doing today. She has the energy going on. But welcome, Annetta. I'm so glad that you accepted our invitation to come and be a part and to share hope, encouragement, and inspiration to parents and even maybe to the children as well. This is your time.
Okay. Hi, again, my name is Annetta, and I'm here to give you hope and encouragement as a mom that has a daughter who who is living with an immune deficiency as well as severe asthma and allergies. The best thing God has given to me are my children, right? So no matter how they were conceived or how, children come into this world, whether they have mental, physical, emotional, health challenges, they are a gift from God. And you're going to hear me reference God quite a bit in this because I am a believer and that is who I serve. Okay. So I have two awesome children, a son who's my breath of fresh air and my daughter who is my sunshine. Right. So when my son was 2 months years old, the doctor had diagnosed him with asthma and some common allergies. So common allergies, like household, like dust, mites, things like that. To you guys, it might be normal, but for me in 2000 as a new mom, that was not normal for me. So I had to educate myself as well as others on how to care, for my son. Asthma and allergies presents itself differently in each person. Like for my son, I learned that if he went outside in the cold, it would trigger his asthma. If he drank a slushy and icy, that would trigger his asthma. I learned you should have hardwood floors instead of carpet. I learned that you should limit the amount of stuffed animals, like the list goes on, right? So with all of these things, I had to document, I had to teach myself, I had to teach others, just to keep them safe. During that period of time, it also, it strengthened my faith walk with God because again, I was a new mom and all this was new to me. So fast forward 6 years later, I'm pregnant again, and it's a girl. And I'm super excited. The things that I did in my first pregnancy, I did in my second pregnancy even more. What do I mean by that? Prenatal vitamins. I did the all natural route. I spoke affirmations and I was positive, and I did my confessions. I listened to two of my favorite pastors, Creflo Dollar and RDM Ministries. I did it all, when it came to being a mom and wanting this pregnancy and delivery to be the best. May 30th, Memorial Day weekend, I gave birth to my daughter. It was normal, I nursed both of my children, and I didn't see a change until it was time to introduce food to my daughter. So it was my birthday. My mom and my husband, they were home because it was my birthday and we're going to celebrate. So I just finished nursing my daughter, and I'm like, oh my God, it's time to introduce food. Let's do this. Birthday present to me, right? Another way that I can satisfy her hunger, outside of strictly nursing. So I went to the kitchen. I got some Gerber oatmeal and cinnamon, and I began to feed my daughter. Within, I would say, like 5 to 10 minutes, I'm like, uh-oh, I see some spots on her legs, red marks. I'm like, these are welts. It went from her legs to her abdomen. And then after that, her face began to have hives on it, and then her eyes started to close up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awful. So thank God my husband was home. Straight to the hospital we went. Now, by the time we got to the hospital, my daughter was unrecognizable. Some people out there that watch Martin Lawrence, right? And Martin Lawrence, he had eaten something, and he had these huge knots on his head. That was my child, right? So we went to the hospital. They had given her medication that was needed for someone who suffered with or actually had an allergic reaction to something. And within a couple of days, it went away. But that was my first experience ever dealing with someone with food allergies. So the journey begins. My daughter began to develop more food allergies by the age of 2.5. She was allergic to wheat, dairy, soy, eggs, cinnamon, all nuts. And then she was diagnosed with asthma and eczema. She began to develop frequent sinus infections, upper respiratory infections, bronchitis that developed into pneumonia. She would have flu-like symptoms, viruses, but all of this with no fever. Now, for most human beings, when you have these illnesses, you'll have a fever. But for my daughter, there was no fever. Again, I would write all these things down in my journal because it seemed like her health, was changing pretty quickly. And I really couldn't understand what was going on because I'm really anal when it comes to cleaning. I did the elimination diet, all the things that I could do, I did. So I started to question myself as a parent, like, what is going on? However, I didn't have the proper knowledge for what was happening to my daughter. So I went back to the doctor, the pediatrician. I'm like, look, we need an allergist. So he referred an allergist to us named Dr. Sharma. He was amazing. He listened to everything that I said, everything that has happened, what was happening to her and what was currently happening. He performed a food allergy test, and yes, she's allergic to that food list and more. So I listened, and I'm like, okay, God, I'm gonna walk in this, she's healed, all that stuff. However, her asthma worsened, and he started, everything that we were doing wasn't working. So he said, you know what, we're going to start a prednisone regimen. Now, prednisone, it works. It works a lot, but it also has a lot of negative side effects. And my husband and I were very concerned about that. However, that was the only thing that was going to quiet, her symptoms and the frequency of her illnesses. So at 2.5, it wasn't getting any better. So she had her tonsils and adenoids removed to alleviate, the frequency of her illnesses. Of course, we still were walking in our healing. We were still believing and knowing that God is the healer. Why do we know? Because he died on the cross for our sins and he took it all, right? That's great from a spiritual standpoint. But from a physical standpoint, it was still tough watching our child live with these conditions. So now she's a little bit older and she wants to socialize more because her big brother was in soccer. Hey, mom, I want to do soccer. We consulted her allergist. He said, as long as, her asthma and her allergies are at bay, she can do soccer. So bought the outfit, pink cleats, all the gear. And, the kids come onto the field now when they're little soccer games, they don't practice really. They just go out there and they just play, have a good time, right? So it was break time. My daughter comes back to me and, mom, I'm itchy. Okay, I pull down her socks. She has welts coming from her ankles all the way up to her abdomen. So of course we took her back to the allergist and prednisone was the regimen, and now she's allergic to grass. And we did an environmental test. It wasn't just grass. It's wheat, it's pollen, it's things in the air that we just don't know. The list went on. So I sat there with my child and I'm like, wow, this is heavy. This is intense, you know? So he was like, the best way I can explain it to you is, have you seen the movie The Boy in the Bubble? And I'm like, I mean, back in the day, I was little. I mean, maybe on TNT, just dated myself. However, I remember knowing that this kid was sick. You know, this kid was allergic to everything. So he was like, that's exactly what your daughter has. And I'm like, okay, so what is that? What does that mean? And again, he was like, you know what? I don't have the proper tools to test your daughter for what I believe she has. He said, so we're just going to continue the prednisone regimen. Okay, thank you for that. Not only does she have to do that with a nebulizer and other steroidal inhalants, but she also has to wear a mask. This mask that everyone is wearing now, this has been our life since my daughter was about 2.5, 3 years old. So now, you know, she's wearing the mask and walking around with the prednisone and the nebulizer. And then, you know, a little bit later, we purchased a home. Our home had an in-ground pool. We were really excited about it because this is an activity that she can actually do where it won't affect her health. Well, after purchasing this home and this beautiful pool and her swimming in it for a little while, guess what? She's allergic to chlorine. So that was a little devastating for us and for her because that was an activity that, you know, we thought that she can do. However, we still didn't lose hope. We just said, okay, we just dealt with it. Her illnesses didn't decrease, you know, it just kept going. She became more ill, more sick. And at one point she was sick every year on her birthday, Christmas, Easter. However, we still did not lose hope, right? We believed in the healing power of God and what he could do. And I didn't stop praying. I didn't stop searching. I didn't stop searching for an answer. I didn't stop trying to figure out what was happening to my child. Again, we as mothers, we are really great private investigators and we are going to figure it out. You might say this is what it is, but you know what? I'm going to keep looking. I'm going to second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth opinion. However many opinions I need to figure out what's happening. That's what I was doing. So it was, again, tough watching her live with this. However, it also heightened my creativity. I had to think outside of the box when it came to entertaining her. When it rains, it settles some of the pollutants in the air, and that became our thing. We had puddle parties. I would dress her up in rain gear and we would go and we would splash in puddles. Now, me, I personally don't like to be wet without soap and a loofah in the shower, you know, cleaning. However, that's what you have to do when it comes to, you know, your children. You figure it out. So now she's school age. Right. And I'm like, Lord, what are we going to do now? Like, this is going to be a whole different challenge. Like, we know how to keep her safe. We've educated, you know, the family and friends are different people, but educating the school system is a little bit different. So she just had a birthday and she was sick again. And, you know, my husband and I discussed what we thought was happening. And we're both educated when it comes to the human body. So it was like, you know, process of elimination, it has to be her immune system, you know, like we had a discussion. So I called the doctor, the allergist back, and I'm like, you know, Dr. Sharma, there's something, it has to be her immune system. Okay, Ned, I get that. However, there's no test. Well, the beginning of June happened right after her birthday, and the doctor called me and was like, you know what, Annetta, there's a new doctor in the practice. And I'm like, say what now? He's like, there's a new doctor in the practice, and her name is Dr. Paula Brown. Not only is she an allergist, but she is an immunologist. I was super excited. So I made an appointment with her, and I remember praying, and I'm like, God, like when I walk into this office, help me to keep it together. Because I've been to a lot of doctors, and just to know that I can have some hope of someone giving me an answer of what may be happening with my child was a lot. Excuse me. So I made an appointment. I walked into her office. I was like, listen, this is what has been happening. This is what we have been living with. We have seen so many specialists, from a hematologist to an oncologist. I mean, we have seen it all when it came to, you know, the doctors. So I let her know what I thought was happening and had my handy dandy notebook and my journal from 2007. Like, it was a list, you know? And she said, Annetta, I believe I know what your child has. And I'm like, what? She's like, I believe your daughter has an IgG deficiency. And I'm like, what? What is that? You know, it's all new to me. And she said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to do some tests. And, you know, when it comes back, then we'll go from there. But she's going to be okay. And I was like, okay. So they did some blood work and test came back. She has IgG deficiency. So knowledge is power. You know, now we can put a diagnosis to all of these symptoms that have been happening. So I just want to give you an idea of what it's about. I'm going to read it. What are IgG deficiencies? It's a health problem which your body doesn't make enough immunoglobulin G. Normally, IgG is the most abundant antibody in the blood. It helps prevent infections. So people that that are living with IgG deficiencies, they're more prone to getting sick. They can't fight the infection. What causes it? They have no idea. But they do believe that genetics play a major role in it. What are the signs and symptoms of people that have IgG deficiency? Severe sinus infections, upper respiratory infections, digestive tract infections, ear infections, pneumonia, bronchitis that continually comes back that can cause permanent lung damage, severe fatigue. The list goes on. How is it diagnosed? Through blood work. How is it treated? Antibiotics, steroids, immunoglobulin therapy. They are trying to do more research to figure out how to help those that are living with immune deficiencies. So they are still doing research. So now that we have the proper diagnosis, is everything okay? Absolutely not. It gets a little bit worse. Now my daughter has been diagnosed with polymorphic light eruption, as well as contact dermatitis on top of eczema. So knowledge is power. So you do some research. So now we know she's allergic to toilet tissue. She's allergic to her clothing. I had to literally sew satin material inside of her undergarments and the seam of socks. The list goes on. However, we still didn't lose hope. We still believe God. We still walk in his healing. We still have faith. We still appropriate the faith. We grab a hold of it. We know, we speak the scriptures. We live it. We walk it. We speak it, you know, we're still doing all the things that we should be doing. However, we are still doing the prednisone regimen when there's a flare up. Is there a cure for IgG deficiency? Not at the moment. However, they're still doing research. They're doing the things, the tools, finding all this education information to help others. But what I did do was I prayed and asked God to set people in my pathway so that, you know, he can make it easy for us. Things that I don't know, like God, you know, you'll provide, you'll put those people in my life that'll do that. So now it's time for school time, right? God put this lady in my life named Christine. Christine, she is an herbalist. She went to school to be an herbalist. And what she did was she would make pomades. She would make oils and look up different herbs that would help my daughter. So yes, we did do the all natural route as well. But with that, what she did do was she researched a little bit further than I did, and she found the Immune Deficiency Foundation. And for anyone who out there who has an immune deficiency or know of someone or think you may have someone, look up primaryimmune.org. This is a foundation where they do research. They collect funds for research for those that are living with an immune deficiency. And there is a lot of immune deficiencies, not just G, there's A, B, all of them. The list goes on. However, this foundation helps with research and helps fund research for people, children, everyone that are living with these things. And they build a community to let you know that you are not by it yourself. So I'm grateful to God for that. So now I'm back to the school. The challenging part was educating, you know, the school system on how to deal with a person with an immune deficiency. The children, that was the easy part. They protected her. Some of them even knew her condition better than some of the staff at the school. However, God, he knows where to place you, right? So my dad, Michael McLemore, who's in the school district, Reverend Childs, my father-in-law, who's in the school district, my sister-in-law, Paula, Claudette Gerald, there's a list of people that helped feed into my life and let me know that your daughter has a right. Your daughter has a right to the proper treatment, to the proper help, even in the school district. She had some awesome teachers, right? She had her kindergarten teacher set the pace, set the tone for how to treat people. She's taught the entire kindergarten class how to treat others how you would want to be treated. Because again, my daughter had to walk in school with a mask. That was her life, you know, and that was the difference. Middle school, Miss Francher, her guidance counselor, Danielle, that was a team. Like middle school is tough in general. And going to middle school with challenges, it can even be more tough. So I'm glad for the people that God set in my life, because they're jewels. Like, they fought for my daughter like I would fight for my daughter, and it was great. So I had to educate the school system on how to deal with someone like that, washing your hands, covering your mouth, this 6 feet, aka personal space. Right, that was a word that was used often in my daughter's vocabulary as well as mine. Personal space, protecting our personal space. So now we are in 2020, 2021. Wow, what a difference. COVID, right? So it affected my household in a whole different way. We had to heighten our protocol when it comes to just living in general. So it makes a difference to follow the rules, because you are not, yes, you're responsible for yourself, but mankind, like, come on, we're responsible for others as well, and if we respect our own health to a degree, you'll respect others. So I remember my daughter being disciplined in school, in elementary school, for that same reason. A little child sneezed, and she was like, cover your mouth. And, they weren't following protocol. And she was like, cover your mouth, and they tried to give my daughter detention for that. That was not going to happen, because mama not only educated you guys, however, I voluntarily came in and taught the entire class on cleanliness and how, just being a good person and taking precautions on other people's health. So yes, my household, we follow a particular, protocol when it comes to, keeping her safe. And what this pandemic has done was it made people a little bit more aware of safety and regarding other people's health as you would do your own. It made it a little bit safer for my daughter to live. Now, as of 3 years ago, my daughter has not needed prednisone, which is a great thing, So even though her whole life has seemed to be on isolation, what this pandemic has done was it caused the whole world to go on isolation. Now, all I asked was for my daughter to have a little bit of patience to, because again, like, her wearing the mask and being singled out and the questions or no questions at all, just the stares, it's very uncomfortable, right? When you look different than someone else and people stare, it's uncomfortable. It's okay to ask, right? But people don't. But if you ask, we can educate. So I asked my daughter to have a little bit of patience when it comes to that, because God has a way of doing things. And sometimes it's just for you. So what this pandemic did, it made the world a little bit safer just for my daughter, because as of last year, we had her white blood cell count checked, and her levels are up. Her levels are up because the whole world is a little bit cleaner. The whole world is a little bit safer. So I understand what the pandemic has done, but it also, there were some positive um, positive benefits that happened. So my job today was to give encouragement and hope, to let you know, number one, don't give up. Don't give up. Even if you are facing challenges, your child is facing challenges, your family is facing challenges, don't give up. Number two, have hope. If you don't have hope, you don't have faith, and you don't have the foundation to stand and keep fighting. Because our job is, when we have the hope and the faith, we can rest in him. And what I mean by resting in him means we're not going to stress. We may have some concerns, but that resting means take those actions and help somebody else. So what I did was, somebody helps me. I know another family who may not have been suffering the way I was, or living with what we were living with, but I was able to help them take that focus and help somebody else. And number three, educate yourself. After you educate yourself, educate others. And that is key, and that is power in this whole thing. So again, if you are living with an immune deficiency of any kind, primaryimmune.org is a wealth of information. They will provide the information that is needed to help you, your child, even in an academic setting. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Netta. Thank you so much. Isn't it amazing, though, how you had to experience this? Now you can help someone else.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
amazing. And I know that mama bear in you is just, you know, but when I think about some of the things that you shared of what she experienced, many people that are senior citizens now never have experienced that much in their
Yeah.
life, or even at this age. But at that age that she was experiencing all of that, I'm sure, looking at her, I can't speak for you, but how were your emotions when you as mom looked at her suffering like that?
Um, I try not to use the word suffering.
Okay.
I use living with, because when
Okay.
I look at suffering, I compare that to a lack of faith, and I don't want that to be the case. So emotionally, it pulls on my heart. Like,
Mhm.
I cry often. It's very difficult to see. However, I really try to find the positive in it, because I'm like, you know what? I tell my kids all the time, like, God allowed me to know what your challenges are in life now, so I can put a title on whatever it is, pray for it. We
Yeah.
know how to deal with it, find the education to live with it, and then move forward. That is not going to stop you. So yes, I do cry. I cry often because it's hard to see. Um, However, I'm believing, and I'm
Yeah.
continuing. I'll just believe that he's going to do it.
Well, you have anyone that watches this, we're believing with you. We're
Thank
believing,
you.
definitely believing with you. Th- you were sent here to share this for someone else to hear it.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's all we want to do, is to render that hope, render inspiration and encouragement. And today, parents, I pray that you have been encouraged through the words of Netta,
Yes.
and I pray that you have been inspired to get educated. Don't just take the doctor's word, but get educated. But most of all, have that faith.
Yeah.
Have that faith to believe that in spite of what you see,
Hmm.
it's still going to be all right. It's still,
Yeah.
and to even let her know, I'm sure your emotions had to be intact when you were with her, so that she wouldn't see the
Yeah.
sad countenance or anything like that.
Hmm.
That is amazing. So how did
Yeah.
you find time for yourself? What do you do?
Huh. Um, well, I love to dance. um, I like to exercise. I like to just have fun. Being outdoors is key. It's huge for me. The moment that it's warm and the sun is shining, I am out there. Um, I try to stay in my happy place, and that's important, finding a balance. So I find the things that are going to make me happy, whether it's exercise, reading a book, having sister time, now through FaceTime with my sisters, being around family, going on a hike with my family, the kids and the husband, like whatever it's going to do to bring a smile upon, my face, that's what I'm doing,
Yeah,
rocking with it.
she's rocking with it, Takira.
Well, I just want to say that I am so glad you came on our broadcast today to talk about this, because a lot of times people have to live with a lot of conditions that aren't so prevalent. Like when you look at someone, like you be like, oh, I can tell you're going through all of this. So I think this is such a great a time for all of us who are listening. Please share this, to learn more about deficiencies like this, because unfortunately they're more common than we think.
Yeah.
Even when conditions are like, oh, it's so rare, there's so many people who are affected with conditions like this, and though there may not be a cure, like you said, knowledge is power, and
Yeah.
doing little steps help not only the person who is living with this condition, but your environment in general. Like you said, this
Hmm.
pandemic has helped her to be a little healthier, because people are doing things they
Yeah.
already should do, like
Yeah.
wash your hands,
Wash
you
your
know,
hands.
things that people just, I guess, take for granted. And I think if people really understood, I had to take this little workshop, and we were talking about germs and things like that and being clean. This is a while back, because I'm in architecture, and we had to do a project in a hospital. And if people really understood like how germy the world is, like let's say without this pandemic,
Yeah.
let's say without the flu, just something common, the world is filled with so many little
Yeah.
microorganisms and germs that are just like you would want to wash your hands. You would
Wash
want to
your
wash your hands.
hands.
Yes, you would want to cover your mouth. When you
Yes.
sneeze and cough. But that's another story,
Hmm.
another broadcast. But
Yeah.
I really value you sharing your experience. And I know people are going to be encouraged by watching this broadcast today. And I'm so happy, and grateful for your strength, because
Yeah.
sometimes it is more painful to watch someone you love and treasure more than anything to go through something and you can't actually, physically stop it and help them right away. That's really painful. And that can bring you down, and you, like you said, stay in your happy place. You still make time for yourself. You were very creative. I love your puddle parties, even though you don't like, playing with puddles. You were like, you know what, we're going to make this as good and normalize, what's going on as much as possible. So I am just so grateful for you and for this whole experience, because I'm telling you guys, immune deficiencies are way more common than people think. And if we could just learn to just reach into our humane side and just have a little compassion for someone who may be going through something a little different from you, or who may look a little different from you, it would just make everything much easier for not only for those who are going through, but for the family members and caretakers who have to care for them. And I always believe, I'm a believer as well, as you guys know, and I always believe everything works out, for your good. And it is amazing how this whole pandemic has been a blessing to so many people, so not only is your daughter in like a healthier space, so to say, but now everybody has to look
everybody.
So anybody who has sees her, it's like, wait a minute, boo boo, you have a mask just like me now. So what you gonna say? So
that's right. It's the little thing.
It's the little thing. Everything comes full circle. So, and I know middle school is hard. So any bullies or anything like that, I'm telling you, your daughter has to have a smile under there, like, look at y'all. But anyway, I will throw any shade. But I'm so happy that God has just put people in our life, and He's just an awesome God, and He really does take care of us, even when we're put in difficult situations. And He puts those people in our lives who are healers, who are people who research, and use their God-given talents to make people better. So I just want to encourage everyone to research. Knowledge is power. Look into some of these resources she's given, just to make yourself abreast on how you can help just make other people's environment better, and just be healthy and wash your hands, please.
Wash your hands.
Yes, please wash your hands.
Cover your mouth.
Right.
Takira, can you put the website that she was talking about in the comment section, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay. What is it again, Netta?
It's primaryimmune.org.
Okay, good. And I'm just I just as Takira has stated, we're just happy for you, just happy for your daughter as well. Rather than just to say your daughter, can we have her name?
Oh, Kirsten Childs.
So when you pray, call out the name of Kirsten. Call out the name of Kirsten. And maybe later on this year, she just might, with a little M, she just might come on and say something to that effect of how she had that experience as well, and what God did for her, is doing for her. But Netta, I hear that you have in all of that you experienced, I hear that you have some good news as well personally.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I'm a business owner. Yes, I am open up an office space. I'm a licensed New York State licensed massage therapist, and my focus is on women's health. I am a giver and a nurturer, and I want to nurture those who are nurturers and give to those who are givers. Like, we women, we are powerful, and we do quite a bit. And that is my goal, to whatever your beautiful is, I want to help with that, So my website is choosemassageLLC.massagetherapy.com. You can look me up on Facebook and Instagram. I am super excited. My opening day is the 17th, and there is no walk-ins, COVID safe, so you have to make an appointment. Okay, thank you.
Great. And that information we will put in I was going to say the chat room, the comment section as well. So would you email that to Project 365 Takira?
Yes.
At Gmail. That same email that you have your Zoom login information on.
Okay.
And she will put it in our comment section, so that those, do you do it virtually? Do you do any virtual?
Virtual what?
Like not counseling or talking to them, or one-on-one something something?
Like massage? Like you
No,
talking about
no, 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 no.
what you talking
Just
about?
health information.
Oh, listen, if you need any information, I will give it. Like I will freely give that information. You can just hit me up on Facebook.
Okay.
If you have, yeah, any question that you have as far as regarding immune deficiency, any information I have, I will share it.
All right. Sounds
Definitely.
good. Sounds good. Well, we thank you so very much for joining us today. And
Yes.
we are going to back out of this day on Friday. Continue to enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. Have a great, great weekend. And we shall see you on tomorrow. God bless. See you later.
Bye.